Hey friends, welcome to another episode of my vlog. Today we're doing something slightly different because I've recorded for you a faceless garden tour because I was sick for so long and you probably can still hear it a little bit in my voice, but I at least wanted to show you some updates. Let's start at the deck here where I want to show you our containers, which we all started from seed not so long ago, and the cutie little raspberry ripple zinnias just started to bloom, and I'm really loving how this is going to come together. I will give the basil a little bit of a haircut after they've bloomed soon so that they keep on growing and filling in those containers, but I'm really loving it so far. Now let's have a look at our hydrangea here in the driveway and everything else what's going on in the driveway. The blueberries are going to be ripe very soon, then I will be fighting with the birds over them, and the potatoes are doing really well as well. This is probably peak how they look like before they start to yellow soon and finishing up their life cycle, because we're going to harvest them probably in 4 weeks from now. This calendula border, which you just saw, is also bringing me a lot of joy next to our peach tree here. I hope we have a couple of peaches at least to try and hopefully really like them. Something what I need to cut back a little bit and prune is the herb garden. We'll get to that eventually. And what is really coming in hot is now the mountain mint, which is one of my favorite bouquet filler. Smells amazing, and I planted it on our slope here for erosion control so that the rain doesn't brush everything off the slope anymore. So let's go into the garden. I always promise you, you get a real view into the garden. My perennial beds here are a hot mess express because, for example, here, two-thirds of my lilies have been chomped down by something, which I suspect is still the groundhog, which we have on the property. But at least the lavender finally came around. I had some pests going on in here as well, but it finally started to bloom, and the bumblebees don't seem to care. Going on to the main garden, you'll see here my pride and joy is coming in soon as well. My Lysianthus, we have already a few ones really budded up well. I expect them in bloom in a couple of weeks or 4 weeks at the latest. And the snapdragons are rocking the show at the moment. This was in, I think, berry mix from Johnny Seeds, but which one stole my heart is this one here. That is a double frappe, and I think that will be my go-to forever grow with the snapdragons moving forward now. All of my fillers filled in beautifully as well. As you can tell, they get cut hard, so that looks cramped, but I cut out a lot of stems there on a frequent basis, so they seem to be fine with it. And this here is red tail status next to my argyratum, which I love as like interesting filler um, stems in my bouquets as well, because they bring some nice sparkle into the arrangements. When we go a little bit further into this bed, you can also see that my celosia is loving the heat and finally coming through. Those are all floret varieties. And the zinnias, I was so concerned about them, are finally looking normal and happy and coming into bloom as well. So I'm really excited to have those ones back and also to see how our experiment is going. One thing which we unfortunately missed is the peak of my beautiful Bathsheba. You can tell it was glorious, but unfortunately we missed that one. But on the bottom of it is my white lavender, which is fully in bloom. I love this one. I gotta create a few more of them and get a few more plants of that because I really love it. The dahlias here look a little bit tired and sad because I recorded that at the end of a 93-degree day, but I promise you they are all fine and coming in and growing very nicely. So I expect that we have the next 4 weeks the first blooms, and you just saw the bunny probably in the background. They are everywhere at the moment. I'm so glad that I put up the chicken wire right away and not even tested it out. One other filler I love here is the Ami, which always self-seeds in this little corner, and the yarrow is coming into bloom as well, which is one additional perennial filler which I have in this corner. So yeah, my bouquets are starting to get pretty again. And look at my tomato jungle. This needs to be pruned ASAP, which I'm planning to do on the holiday weekend. But you can tell the plants seem to like the new structure with the cages, even though um, it is a little bit tricky here and there to actually keep them contained in the cages. So you got to be a little vigilant to really push back the branches back into the cages to ensure that they don't grow left and right out of them. And as I was not in the garden for a couple weeks, I had some work to do to get them all back and pushed into the cages where it was like this one that was past its bending shape, but it's all fine and good. We'll make it work. But they seem to love it. I have a lot of tomatoes setting in, even though we had such high temperatures. As you might know, tomatoes don't like it when it's over 80 degrees Fahrenheit so much anymore, but they seem to not so care too much. Peppers are growing very well as well. And my favorite little basil, the Everleaf basil tower, is doing great. We've also have the first few cucumbers showing, although this one annoyed me a little bit because this grew out of the chicken wire fencing as well and making itself independent here. But oh well. And this bed is probably which needs the most work right now because we got to turn it over from the peas. They clearly didn't like the 90-degree weather, which is fine and was to be expected, as well as the cilantro, which is blooming so beautifully next to it, or my bolted Cilanova. So clearly we have something to do on the weekend, which when I'm hopefully feeling better again. But I actually put one of the stems of that dill, not the dill, the cilantro blooming here into my flower bouquets, and it looked actually really pretty. And true to shape, the center cut squash is also already escaping after just like literally a week not in the garden to check on it. But everything is looking fine and growing really, really strongly. We will swim in center cut really soon. A few of my cucumbers, though, got like really attacked by just a few cucumber beetles. I think I took three beetles off. Um, but yeah, anyway, there's some squash, of course, is already. But yeah, I always promise you to show you the ugly stuff as well. So here you go. So yeah, my luck with cucumbers is always going back and forth. And in this bed, I didn't clean up my tomatoes from last year, so I keep pulling tomato plants out of it. Yeah. Lily's bed over here is doing great as well, except for the escapee tomato, which needs to be reined in and pruned as well. But otherwise, it's looking really, really great. And I'm happy how everything is working out so far. And we should have hopefully the first cherry tomatoes, I would think, in like 2 weeks or so, hopefully. Usually we're getting them around 4th of July, which is just a few days from now. But we started with a cold spring. But the cucumbers are really cranking now with the hot temperatures. So yeah, really loving how everything is coming in. Of course, the pests showed up as per usual after the first 2 weeks of June. Somehow they always find you, but this is just how garden grows. And the next thing we're going to harvest is probably the garlic. As you can tell, it starts to dry up on the bottom. We typically wait until at least 3 leaves on the bottom are dried up. Then it's ready to harvest. And for some reason, I think the groundhog liked a nibble of the onions on top as well. It's whatever at this point. I think they still grew nicely, so we'll still have a good harvest, but they're not supposed to like that. But oh well. Anyway, I hope you liked that little walk through my garden. Even though that I didn't show my face, I'll promise I'll record some new videos on the holiday weekend. We have a lot of topics to deal with, and yeah, thank you for being here and talk to you next week.